Today is the 28th.
Alright, so calling the Energy Advisory Committee meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the January minutes. These were sent out by Bob earlier. Anybody have any comments, minutes, or adjustments?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Alright, second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, approved. Next item on the agenda, public speak. So welcome, Mr. Fix, for coming. Is there anything you'd like to speak about during public speak?
Not particularly.
Okay. That's just for
I have
section
some
that maybe
material
wants to
that I'd
bring
like
up
to
some
leave
stuff.
with you before we break up, but.
Okay, we can do that under other business and stuff.
I don't know if you've seen a copy of the agenda for today or not, but that's today's agenda.
I think I said, I might have said it too. Can't
I
remember.
don't
if I did
think
or
I
not.
recall seeing this. Is this your copy?
You can share, or you can hold on to it. So I can get the original so I can print it out.
All right. Number 3, update on public outreach and social media. No change on that. I'm kind of waiting for Ed to become a member, committee member, and passing that off to him is kind of where I'm at on that.
What's the status on his?
He emailed this afternoon. He's in the Berkshires and couldn't make the meeting today, so he was like, should I even join? Because I can't make some meetings. Like, well, we can adjust our time to fit his schedule better if we need to. So I still recommended him to follow through with the process.
So he hasn't started the process.
I don't know. As of like a couple weeks ago, Alan had emailed him and said that he hadn't gotten an application.
No,
for that
still
application. Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
There's end of January is when he got, so yeah, I guess exactly a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, Alan, his position was grant funded and we was not able to get money to the city yet, so it's gone.
Okay.
So she is a new assistant, but there's no, somebody of the same attention or level that she didn't have.
Okay. So I'll follow up with that to get that.
I haven't seen anything put forward of council at this point, so I think the process hasn't gone past the mayor's office yet.
I'll follow up with that on that. So next on the agenda, update on the 2019 Green Community Grant applications. So I'm gonna send some stuff out about that.
Yeah, so the Green Community Grant, it sounds like they are still sort of progressing with, well, Jeff is still progressing with looking at some of the electric vehicle aspects of trying to pull a couple different grants together. He was saying that he needed a little bit of help to try to do some of that. I think the deadline is the 18th. So I don't know if either of you is interested in diving in with him, or I can meet with him for a half hour and help point out stuff of what I know, but I'm not gonna really, I've got way too much going on right now, trying to help it regularly.
What is defined by help? Is it filling out the application? Is it getting data? Is it?
I'm not sure exactly. So why don't I meet with him, see if he's got a half hour to meet next week sometime. I'll sit down with him, get clear on what he's looking for help, and what I can just sort of help point him towards in terms of just green community stuff that I may be able to just know and give to him.
Okay.
And then, if there's something that he's looking for city data or for, some assistance in terms of digging some of that kind of stuff, then I'll can direct him. Are you guys interested, either one of you interested or have availability?
I guess it depends on the amount left.
I might be interested in that. I'm not sure what it is or how you're defining it, but what, can you give me a little background on that, or?
Well,
I'm waiting.
so the Green Community Grant is set up to support cities who are green communities to be able to do different projects, focused primarily around energy conservation measures, energy efficiency upgrades, lighting upgrades, things like that within buildings. Because the whole focus of the green community is trying to decrease your overall energy consumption.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's also sub-components within the grants that allow you to do other things. And so transportation is one of the areas that they're trying to look to help you reduce your energy consumption there as well. I would say that the green communities component of electric vehicle charging capacity to apply for it is really intended if you have EVs in your municipal transportation, fleet, for the word, which we don't really. So, but the city is in the process of trying to put together a couple different sources to help put in charging stations within the city to hopefully in the long term move towards adding some EVs within our fleet, but just also getting that within the community to help public. So that's the component that Jeff is working on. What he needs to prepare that grant for that, again, I'm not sure if it's just easy stuff that I'm gonna know because of having done the Green Communities grant, not grant, but reporting for the last 5-6 years, whatever it is now, or whether there's gonna be a lift involved. So in terms of doing, if he needs research data on, vehicles or EVs within the city, or I'm not sure what he's gonna look to help with.
Are we a green city?
Yeah, we've been since 2010.
2010.
We were probably one of the first 5 or 10% in the
The
city.
idea was you're
Great.
supposed to
Yeah.
reduce your, we're designating it, but the whole idea of the program is supposed to reduce your overall consumption by 20% in 5 years.
Yeah.
And nearly every community in the entire state hasn't even reached that goal.
No, there's less than 5 who've reached that goal. So it's, most are not achieving it, so they're trying to evaluate how they're achieving it or what we're being able to do. The biggest step forward for our city is gonna be when we're able to get rid of our White Brook Middle School and other elementaries, because White Brook Middle School is by far the biggest consumer of the entire city.
White Brook
So-
itself consumes 33% of all our carbon emissions for the town.
Yeah.
That was building.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
To qualify as a green community, we had to commit to a number of different things. We had to commit to adopt the stretch energy code, for instance, as a requirement.
When
So-
did the count start?
2010.
In 2010?
Yeah, I think we're down, 3 or 4%.
it's fluctuated, yeah, I forget what the.
But also, if you
was.
continue to at least register the data every year and report it, you get eligible for grants and stuff. So like the LED streetlights, those all came through green communities.
That was your early-
That was actually
That was
the
one of the
original.
first things, yeah.
There wasn't even that was the original sort of like disbursement for joining.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to apply for that one. We did a bunch of energy efficiency retrofits in some of our elementary schools as a part of a green community grant we got a few years back. But I think that's the only grant we've actually applied for.
All right.
So this would be our second grant, so, yeah, so that's sort of the
Thank you.
status on that.
Yeah, my timing is tricky. I'm heading to Florida on the 14th on a Tuesday, so that most of that week I'm not going to be available.
Okay.
Something beforehand perhaps, but if it's coming down to the wire, I won't be around.
I can step in with him and do just a quick check-in about what he's looking for and get clearer, and then, based on what he's asking, can send it out to the group.
Yeah,
This-
'cause to
this-
help, I'm not even sure it's data I could get access to. If it's just filling out an application, that's one thing.
Mm,
But
right.
then even knowing what data to fill the application out with, maybe beyond the scope of what I would know within the city also.
Yeah, so that's where I'm not sure how much of a learning curve it would be whoever steps in. So I can try again. I'll try to meet with him early next week. He was hoping he was gonna respond by today, and he didn't yet. I'll just let you guys know what the plan is for me.
And this is
What
for
about-
charging stations or for vehicles or possibly?
I think it's just charging stations is what they're looking at.
I think like the chicken and egg
Yeah,
thing. We don't buy
exactly.
fleet vehicles until we had charging
Right.
stations.
Yeah, but there's a mix of different grants
Yep.
that are out there. So there's an Eversource grant they're looking to pull on.
That's for the connection.
Yeah, and then you were on that email.
There's the Volkswagen.
The Volkswagen one
diesel.
threw out
Yep.
there,
Yep.
and then, but I feel like Jeff was talking about another one, and then the green community. So there's potentially 4 different grants, so we're trying to make it so that we don't have to pass any. We'll see. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'll report back on that then,
Okay.
and see what's asked.
So next on the agenda is update on the pre-K through 8 school PD system sizing and building energy estimate. So I'd send out the email once you set the size of the facility. I just went into PV watts online and
Yeah.
got what the average output would be. So it's pretty significant. I guess it depends also then compared to what the energy usage is, so. I looked through those documents, I just casually looked through the document you sent, and I didn't see a kilowatt hour number.
There's a KVA number, slightly because I looked at, the third number, third document. One of them looked at sort of general design specifications for the,
Oh, total electric load calculations. Okay, 2718. Two different numbers, 2718, 2383.9. That's the power, not the energy. Because it's not KVA hours.
One of the things that I was concerned, and like there's obviously two components to this, is how big of boilers that they were. And I've got so much to go on. I meant to bring it with me, but so one of the things in there, like they've got a pretty huge, 3 different boilers. Was that 3.6? What though? There were 3 big boilers going in, and I was kind of surprised by just how much natural gas was being consumed with that, with the size of what they were, the capacity of what they were putting in. Because I always thought we were much lower on that. So
hopefully the consumption will still be lower than the existing consumption, or else we'll
Yeah,
have a
did
problem
we-
with Columbia.
Did we find that out with Columbia?
yeah, no, I think they already. I mean, first off, it's already an existing tie, so it's
Right.
not like.
But the load
that-
calculation.
But the load, yeah, I think they already did that piece of it. I know they've already been in communication with Columbia, so it's not an issue there.
Because I remember that was one meeting I attended at Collier's, that was the first time National Grid, or Columbia was involved in it, and they said they were gonna do the inspections and come up and
Oh.
make sure that the loading calculation was, and this was December, so I don't, because they had concerns about the moratorium, obviously, and so I think it would have to have been done, because they said if that changed, if they were restricted to what, because they're restricted to what White Brook is, they can't steal from the other buildings and add it to White Brook.
Oh, they can't?
They'd have to fully decommission the
Oh, they
meters.
can't decommission.
And they don't know what they're doing with the buildings yet, so they wouldn't decommission the
Right,
meters.
right.
Especially if you're gonna sell it to somebody else and then
Right.
all of a sudden give away the gas
Yes.
connection they have, they probably wouldn't be too good to sell them for.
Right. So it was 100, what size was the PV again?
100 to 130 K.
Yeah. Which isn't, I mean, it's not that big.
No, I think that, because of what's on this, the high school.
Is in that range, I think, right? It's less than 200.
Solar tracker.
50, 70, something like that.
114.
Yeah, good.
So it's right in the middle.
Yeah. So, and I think what I'm remembering originally was they were talking in the sort of 157,000 kW hours or something like that.
I think it was 166,000 for the large size.
Yeah.
For the 130 K.
Yeah. So it's,
But essentially, they have that, so that they have the load calculation, but that's the power calculation, not the energy calculation for the building.
Right.
Whereas we're concerned with the energy calculation.
yeah, and I think I didn't, I can follow up with Bert
Yeah.
on that.
So it's really all that. I don't think we have a concern, just from what I see, if the energy calculations, in the megawatt hours, which it should be, should be thousands of megawatt hours, I would imagine, with all the new air conditioning stuff, so we have to live on.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking. I thought they were saying something,
The size
old
of
numbers was like 157,000
kWh.
megawatt. Yeah, that's the range of what they were talking about.
Because we're our city consumption is 4 million kWh a year, roughly.
So maybe it was 1.5 million or something, I think, or something in that range.
And we're only talking about 166,000 with the max PV size.
Right. Yeah, so he's not, yeah. I'll still follow up with that, though.
One of the things we're trying to do, just for your benefit, is
Mhm.
providing some advice to the school building committee, of which Maren sits on,
Mhm.
relative to what's likely going to be a small solar facility built as part of the new building.
On the roof of the new school.
And taking a look at how does that fit into existing contracts, because the city already has a couple of other solar facilities that it's participating in.
Who are you?
And, yeah,
Who's on first?
just trying to.
What's on second?
Being in a position where we can kind of keep an eye on kind of everything that the city has going on right now to see if it all makes sense.
And Jeff filled me in on, or Jeff, Steve filled me in on some of.
Okay,
Some
good,
of that
good.
stuff. But, what is that?
Yeah, so overall, I think we're probably in the right track with being okay. They're not putting in too big of a PV system, so I think we're gonna be okay.
Still has the overall issue of, are we over-contracted for the city as a whole? The size of the PV system in the schools could be.
I suspect
not a
that'll solve
problem.
itself, because particularly if we have years like this year, right, it won't be a problem.
No, yeah, solar's been nice and low.
Nice and low? No, it's not.
Which is ironic, yeah. For the city, it's been good.
Not for us individual owners, though.
As I said, previous administration signed up for a solar facility, and they may have oversubscribed our total town's energy usage, and the solar facilities count on net metering credits to fund their project. And we may not have enough net metering credits to give those solar facilities based on the contracts that were signed.
If those solar facilities actually produce
The output, the max
the
output.
output that they're predicted to predict, which they may not be soon.
And if they don't,
If they don't,
If their production's lower than our total town usage, then there's no problem. It's only when their total production goes above what the town consumption is, then we have a problem, because they're expecting net metering credits. So ironically, the town should use more energy to satisfy the contracts for the solar facilities.
So then it becomes a potential breach of contract
Yeah.
issue that we have to deal with, so. It's just something it's something that nobody else caught. Luckily Bob caught it, that there was that potential error in configuring how we use our power and where we're getting our power, so. It's just something that's been on our radar screen.
That was while the energy committee wasn't active anymore, and so the mayor, these solar companies come from town to town selling their wares, saying we're gonna sell you cheap electricity, just sign on the dotted line. And some mayors do sign it without, some due diligence, and they didn't, she didn't have anybody to go to, so at no point.
Right. And our business, I mean, I work in business too, and net metering credits is great. It saves people a lot of money, but you've got to make sure you're sizing it right, and people aren't always as
Due diligence.
due diligence or honest, or there's
Oh, yeah,
some
the
people
sales tactics
that's
from
it,
some of the
that's-
solar
yeah,
facilities, yeah.
are not always the best. Anyway, moving on. Let's move on.
Yeah. So that's all I have. I guess the only thing updated, so you're gonna continue to follow up with
I will, yeah, I did, I
Sun
got another
Financial, I
email
guess, who's
from
the-
Sun Financial, who's actually the owner. They sent me a note saying that they got the request and they're considering.
They're
But in the
considering.
meantime, I'll reach directly out to the town of Deerfield.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they have, and City of Easthampton should have most of the information as well, because they're getting billed for the net metering credit, so there should be, I figured I'd just go to the generator and then have it all in one place, and it would be
Just
very
like
easy to
we,
get that.
I mean, for example, our other solar facility is the landfill out on Oliver Street, and we contacted them, and they set up an account for me specifically, and we can see all their output on a real-time basis for the 2 megawatt solar facility we have out there. And they had no problems giving us any of that information and everything. This other company, it's been bought and sold, I think, 3 or 4 times since it was originally signed up for, and it's operated by a company out of California, and it's the solar industry here has been like the Wild West, so it's been like
We're
everybody
not.
descended upon.
Massachusetts is not as bad as some places.
Yeah,
New
but
York,
everybody
worse.
descended upon here and started building stuff, and it's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's been crazy for the last 5 or 6 years. It's only gonna get worse.
So I have one other thing that I want to bring up on
Yep.
other business, if we
Yep.
raise
Yep.
up to that. and I know you gotta go in just a few minutes. So one of the things that, that I wanted to bring up here, and I don't know in terms of action or anything like that, but is PACE funding. So I sent out a little bit of information. It's basically a situation where the municipality would need to approve the ability to have property, what's the right word? Property assessment put into financial agreements between a business and the financial institution. So that it basically sets it up so that if you, let's say you own a building and you want to put $100,000 into investing in energy efficiency or clean energy, you can get a loan and just be responsible for that loan. Well, if you go bankrupt, then you're gonna try to get out of paying back that loan. So, but the investment in the building is still there. And so what it makes it then is that the financial institutions may or may not want to fund that investment. But if financial institutions work in partnership with cities, the way that PACE works is that it no longer is just between the business and that bank. It goes through the city so that it's actually, if the business ever failed or anything like that, it actually is tied to the property tax of the building. And so then that can be passed on to a future owner, whether it's just regular sold or if it's bankruptcy issue or whatever like that. So it's tied to the property, and so the municipality helps sort of facilitate that to a degree.
What does PACE stand for? I assume it's an acronym.
Property assessed clean energy.
Yeah, property assessed clean energy. So that's how the assessment works to connect clean energy. So that's PV, any other, and energy efficiency measures are also included in that.
So I guess the example of Ferry Street, they put a 100 kilowatt solar array on top of their roof, and then that developer goes bankrupt. The next person that buys the property
It's
funds the
already
rest of
built
it.
in,
Built into
the
cost.
property. The bank likes it better because they get paid second after property tax as opposed to sort of separate from the building, really, based on a financial agreement with that entity. So there's some really good advantages. We're also, just to disclose, HCG is trying to look at ways to connect different people together in that, particularly around when it comes to energy storage. Trying to look at how can we help energy storage become more a part of this conversation. And since the financing right now is still a little tricky there, if you're able to utilize PACE funding for that, it might actually help facilitate people investing in energy storage within a building, along with, PV systems on the roof or things like that. And yet, Ferry 1 is obviously a big possibility for this sort of thing.
Other than the overall goal of helping to not to incentivize, but helping to sustain and expand the renewable energy business and the energy storage business, are there direct benefits to the community that would go beyond that greater goal?
Well, maybe it's sort of, because it sort of helps facilitate it, hopefully there'll be more of it.
Right.
Right, it's sort of what you're saying.
I'm just wondering if there's any direct benefit to the community versus the overall goal, going beyond. Yes, a
Right.
better, cleaner world,
I think that it's just that the city helps recognize that they want that kind of investment made within the community, and so they sort of, and I don't know if there's I don't know how the financial works. Maybe there is some kickback to the city because we're helping the bank get paid through the tax base or something like that. So I'm not sure exactly how all the money works. I'm trying to learn that right now myself. And I'm going to be bringing this idea to the mayor as well as some of the city council members to sort of just start to see out.
The Board of Assessors are the key, and they are an independent decision maker outside of the council, so you'll want to loop them in very quickly in the discussion.
Okay. Who's that again?
The Board of Assessors.
According to this website, it's says, individual municipalities may opt into PACE by a majority vote of the city or town council or board of selectmen as
Okay.
appropriate.
It will definitely impact.
Who's on the board of
I
assessors?
have no idea.
Okay, I'll search that up.
The whole
And maybe
property
if they-
assessment process is.
So you're thinking that, you know, if we were to review it and give a recommendation,
That's, I mean,
Yeah.
and I need to be clear,
One
like,
way or
the
the other.
HCG is involved in that, and that's where I work, so I wouldn't be able to be a part of the
the recommendation.
recommendation, or I'm not, you know, when do I need to stay silent on this as a concept? You know, in terms of
I
conflict
guess
of
maybe
interest
it would
kind of
helpful
stuff,
to
but.
have somebody come and if there's somebody from the program that would be able to explain it to us and give like a presentation at a future meeting, that might be helpful.
Okay.
Because then you can abstract yourself out of it and have somebody representative of the program kind of describe it. Because I've looked up at their website and I've read it, but there's not much to it as far as
Yeah.
how that affects cities and towns. Because it says it was in Connecticut too, so
That's where it's been approved.
it'd be interesting
It's
to hear
just-
use cases of how it was used in Connecticut. And
Yep.
maybe even talk to the town and see how they feel about the program after having it implemented.
It'd be interesting, other than the potential paperwork issue associated with it.
Because it seems like it makes it more complicated for the city in general.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Because you're now becoming financially obligated for projects through property taxes.
I don't know if you're, no, because at least if what
So
you
you're
said
not.
is correct.
No, no, the
property
town's not
tax gets paid
responsible.
first, and then the second lien holder effectively would be the project.
The bank.
The bank, basically.
Yeah, it sets it up so that there's a lien through the property tax.
So it puts them
It's
at the-
a higher level of,
debtors.
yeah,
Than other types of
Than other
debtors,
types.
yeah.
Yeah.
That might make it more attractive to banks to loan money.
yeah. And, you know, again, the hope is that that will help encourage banks lending and the incentives then of people going and doing that work. So, okay, I will do a little bit more digging and also get clear on maybe getting somebody else to come in here and do a presentation on it, and sort of where to go from there, and recognize that there is not a conflict of interest yet, but there's a potential down the line as HCG gets more involved as well, so.
And clearly, it reduces the risk for investors, and that's the same, any type of bond, for instance, that's
Yeah.
backed up by revenue collection, whether it's tax revenue, or water or sewer revenue, or things like that, there's a higher level of probability of
Yeah.
collecting the
From the other
revenue
directors.
that's necessary, so those bonds become more attractive than, something that there's not the same level of. Eventually, you get your property taxes, you don't get it directly, you get it through a lien, you get it when the property is sold, and eventually that money is received.
So do you have any other business, because we're at 5:30, I should probably set the next meeting date. We can stay and talk afterwards if there's other stuff you want to talk about. He just has to go, so we have to officially kind of end the meeting. Is the 26th of March to work, everybody?
Should.
Somebody's March 26th?
Yes. We usually do it on the fourth Tuesday of every month.
Today I had a conflict, or this month I had a conflict, so we're off schedule.
I know we moved it like to earlier week, and then I messed up by not submitting the agenda on
Yeah.
time, so that means I lose it. And then, yeah.
So I am going to move that we adjourn the meeting.
So
Second.
26th is good for everybody, so all in favor, aye. Approved. All right, okay.
Get my car and drive back over the mountain.
Can I get the